Hi, I'm Adam. Welcome to the South End Guide Paranormal channel. And it's great to have you guys back with me again for this very late now. I've just tried recording this off my phone and it shut off for some reason, so I'm having to use my brand new camera. But I'll talk about the brand new camera and other bits and pieces I've got coming next week's vlog. The main reason is because I've got quite a big announcement, I suppose. As some of you are aware, I have my CBR 600 up for sale. She actually went the weekend before last. I just didn't have a chance to talk about it last week. And I have a replacement, and I'm going to talk about it right now. So here's the reveal. This is my brand new bike. This is the Africa Twin. This is the 2018 model, and it's the Adventure Sport. And one of the extra features the Adventure Sport has is the tank has got extra capacity over the standard Africa. It's 24 litres, which gives you a range of up to 300 miles, which will be perfect for some of the trips I have in mind. And yeah, basically how this happened is, as you lot are aware, I've been after one of these since they come out. I love them. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I love the original one, even though I never got the chance. Well, it's not to say I won't, but I never got a chance to try the original Africa Twin out, the old XRV 750. But when Honda said we're bringing out an updated model, I was like, as soon as I got the money, guys, I'm having one. So what did I get for my money? I gave £7.5 for this, and what I've got with that is, as I say, apart from being Adventure Sport, it came with full luggage. It's got the Honda panniers. The top box is actually a Givey one. It's permanently mounted on there. It's nice and sturdy. A lot of room in there. Get 2 helmets in there, and also you've got the heated grips. The guys made a few other mods. Whilst you could get a full touring pack for the Twin, which included spotlights, the crash bar. What's that crash bar there? You got the sump guard. These lights are actually aftermarket, but they've been well fitted. One criticism I've had from a couple of my friends, and I've read elsewhere, is the standard screens that came with the Twin were not tall or wide enough. Well, the guy that's had this is, as you can see, it does have an oversized screen. What the problem with the original ones is that the wind tends to, once it hits the fairing, it tends to smack you in the face and on your shoulders, which can make riding a little tiresome. As you can see, this one's clearly bigger, so that should eliminate much of that. The guy that had it has actually been down to Spain on it, so he knew where to improve things. So that was one of them. Another little feature he did was this. It's what it actually does. What he said happens is the wind comes up through under the fairing, up through the forks, and that buffets you as well. So this eliminates that. As I said, this also has the heated grip function, which will be useful because, unlike my Thunderbird, which is now very much a fair weather bike, I will be using this when the weather isn't quite so damned hot as it has been today. Also, has put this seat covering on. It's one of those lattice affairs that lets airflow under your nether regions. Another useful fitment, as I say, decent size luggage on these things. The one thing I didn't get with this, which I did quite want, however, now I've been riding around in this a little bit, was a DCT. This is actually a manual version, but to be honest, the gearbox and the clutch on this are lovely, and for going around sort of urban areas as I have been, you can keep it in third and it's fine. You know, you don't really have to cog swap much, if at all, and that's quite a good thing. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, after all this time, when I test rode one back in 2016, it was yeah, I was, you know, it took me away. The DCT I think was the first one I tried with the full kit, funnily enough, like this one has. And yeah, the DCT version is great, but as I say, for the money I paid for this, I'm really not complaining. I've basically got a 4-year-old bike with a full kit, and it's the Adventure Sport version as well for that money. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how things come to be, because I'm seeing coincidences between me buying this and what happened with my Thunderbird, which I'll go over in a minute. So there we have it. That is the replacement for the CBR. Unfortunately, the insurance was a little bit more than what my CBR was. I paid, I think it was 67 quid on that, but it was a low end bike at the end of the day, no matter how much I loved it. Yeah, you know, for value wise, it was down there, and it was a 30-year-old bike. Obviously, this is much newer, a lot more expensive. So I'll now jump from, just say, 67 quid up to 250. I'll probably I'll see about getting that down next year. It was just because I had to swap the insurance over with the existing company that I'm with. But, you know, 250 is kind of around the ballpark of what I expected. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, I will keep you updated as to my adventures that I'll be having on this. Yeah, it's all up there, and I can still go adventuring on the Triumph. That's the beauty. You know, it's great to have two bikes I can do that with, and as you know, I've done a fair bit of adventuring on the Triumph, and that's handled it with aplomb. The only downside with the Triumph, well, the two downsides. Technically free, but the third one is because I leave the screen off on purpose. I prefer the looks of a naked bike, of the naked Triumph anyway. The Triumph has a much smaller tank. I'll get roughly on a run, probably about 110-ish miles before I need to fill up. And the seat as well, although that will be modified because I do need to recover it. The seat gets a bit hard after a while. By the time you want to fill up, you do want to sort of step off. So there's that to it. Anyway, there we go. I'm going to go back into my studio and we'll have a chat a bit more. So there we go. I finally have an Africa Twin. In some sort of strange coincidences as I bought my Thunderbird. Yeah, quick story about the Thunderbird. I was put onto that particular bike by a friend of mine. It was an old school mate, Al Cropley. Me, him and Chris, we started riding together when we were teenagers. I was just a lot later to the party to get my full licence, but you know, things happen in your lifetime. Well, anyway, Al, I was looking around at Triumph Bonnies, adventure bikes, funnily enough, and Al suggested looking at the Triumph Thunderbird. Oh, okay, I had a look, and I'm like, I like this. You know, very retro look. It was actually a first breakaway bike for Hinckley Triumph from their generic stuff. Because they wanted to start making inroads into the American market, so they bought out the Triumph 900 Thunderbird, and it was just a totally retro look to mimic their bikes from the 60s, complete with a harmonica badge. You've seen me Thunderbird, you know what she looks like. Well, cut a long story short with the Thunderbird. Now, I was looking all over the place for one, and I couldn't really find one that was that accessible in terms of distance. So I couldn't find anyone in terms of distance. So I popped up to Eastern Cruisers. Unfortunately, Biff and Wayne are no longer there. There was a mid-80s XL1000 Sportster which looked quite smart, and I thought, that's not too bad, it's not too bad. And you know, I was sort of, I don't know if I say resigned, it's quite the right word, because it was a lovely looking bike, and I do quite like Harleys really. I know I take the piss, but they're not that bad. They're not really. I popped up to Julian Sabers to pick some parts up for a TZR 250. I was rebuilding. And Soper's, he's not a bike dealer, he's just done accessories. And so unfortunately he's no longer there now, retired, sold up, and the staff and that have all gone to sort of other places in the area. But he loved Thunderbirds, same as me. And he had one every year, or rather every year that I was able to ride a big bike. And the last two that he had in, basically what he'd done is he'd buy them in for spring, ride it through to autumn and then send them on. Well, the first two he had I couldn't really justify because I was working, I think, on like 3 jobs including DJ, and it's all, none of it's contracted hours, so although the work was there, it was, you couldn't really rely on things too much. And as I already had a big bike, I had other finances paying off, I had a car, couldn't really justify getting a Thunderbird. It was, although I loved it, it was on something I couldn't say, yeah, I really need that, Well then, back in 2013, I wrote my Cavalier SRI off, which greatly upset me. And then 2 weeks later, I lost the bike I had at the time, which was my Honda Dominator, which was kind of part of my loving adventure bikes, but that's for another day. It's also kind of why I like Africa Twins, because of the Dommy. Anyway, yeah, he got this one in. It's maroon and cream one. I was up there, yeah, it's bits of the teaser though, as I said, and I sort of half jokingly said, I don't suppose you want to let that Thunderbird go early? And he said, well, maybe, what sort of price? And I went, I knew the ballpark figure was £3 so I said, £3. And he went, yeah, alright, I'll probably pay less than that. But just, I quickly said, yeah, okay. So anyway, got a loan. I had no choice, I had no wheels. As I say, my car had been written off and I'd lost my Dominator a couple of weeks after. I had no wheels. And because of the nature of my work, my DJ work mainly in transport. It was only fortunate at that time that I was working off a laptop, so I didn't have a lot of gear to take me to gigs. So anyway, yeah, got a loan, done the deal for the Thunderbird, bought a cheapy car a little while after that, and 9 years later she's still here with me, and I still ride her like I just bought her. It was such a great purchase. Initially she got put to work, and for a good few years I'd say she did, but now she's been, the loan I paid off early, some sort of 3 years ago or so now. So now it's very much a dry weather, recreational bike with a little bit of touring. I've been Germany, York, all sorts of places, so I still do little bits with her, but yeah, it's very much recreational now. So anyway, moving forward, the Africa Twin, now very similar set of circumstances, different but the same. The way things are at the moment with fuel, A, the cost of it, B, the fact that you can only buy petrol with ethanol in it now, and I was starting to get issues with my CBR. I thought now is the time to let the CBR go, which did, say, 2 weekends ago now, and look at something newer that's going to cope with modern fuel. Now with my Thunderbird, the website says I can actually run it on E10, but I have done, it's all right, but it ain't, when you run it on premium, even with the E5, you do notice the difference. It runs so much sweeter on premium. Trouble with premium is it's got a premium cost, and it's actually slightly more than diesel, so I'm not really gaining, I'm not probably gaining anything in terms of MPG over my Saab. So that was sort of one thing, the fuel issue. The other one was, as I say, the Triumph's fair weather now, and she cost me peanuts to keep, she really does. So looking at a bike I can use when the weather's not so great. Not only that, but with London now having a ULEZ that affects bikes, even though it shouldn't, because bikes are, their contribution to the air pollution is negligible. It's less than 1%. Less than 1% of the air pollution in London is down to motorbikes. And yet Sadiq Khan charges them the same as he does cars. It stinks. But anyway, well, that's a rant for another day. So, with travelling to London in mine, as you know, I work in Putney. Now, at the moment, Putney is outside the ULEZ, just, or rather my pub is, because the ULEZ got extended to the North and South Circulars. Khan wants to extend it even more out to Orpington, out to Romford. I'm not sure how north it goes, I'm not sure how west, but if you think more or less up to the M25, that's the kind of area you got. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know, because what he's now doing is treading on the toes of Essex Council, Kent, Surrey, so on. He's now treading on their toes. So whether they'll agree to it, I don't know. But the point is, potentially for next year, for me to travel into London, just to do Putney, would cost me £100 a month. Because ULEZ runs 24/7, midnight to midnight. So if you go in at 8, which I do, finish at 1, you're paying to go in, you're paying to come out. It's £25 a freaking trip. It's ridiculous. And it don't matter if it's on my bike, you know, my Triumph or the car. Now I could get the Triumph tested, because it's down to the nitrous oxide emissions. On many older bikes do comply with it, funny enough. But alright, it's all very well and good when the weather's nice like this. But if it's not so good, I don't really want to ride my Triumph. You know, it's done its job. It's worked its money, as far as I'm concerned. So I thought, right, well, I'm doing pretty well now, again, so we'll look at getting an Africa Twin. And the same thing started. I sort of looked around the dealers around the area. The nearest one I saw was Coulsdon, but with me faffing around, that one went. And basically I was looking for an Africa Twin with all the kit, and preferably DCT. DCT is a dual clutch transmission gearbox, so it's like a semi-automatic. You can have it in automatic mode, but you've also got a manual paddle shift, and they actually work really, really well. I've ridden a couple of DCTs now and I'm well impressed with them. But anyway, that's by the by. So I just had to nip off and get a drink, because it's bloody warm in here. This has got one of those old school windows where they're all slatted at the top and they're just rubbish. They're no good for ventilation in the summer, and in the winter they just blow a gale. They're horrible. Anyway, where was I? Right, yeah, just talking about Africa Twin. As I say, I was looking fully kitted, preferably with DCT. The nearest RC one was Coulsdon. And I faffed around a bit, and when I went to check if it's still there, it gone. So I'm now looking, and oh, bloody hell, anything that I like, some of them were 200 or 300 miles away. And then I had a chance encounter on Auto Trader, and there was a fully kitted 2018 Adventure Sport. The only thing it didn't have was DCT, but it was a really good price, you know, for that year. You know, as I say, I had all the kit on it, and I thought, well, that's got to be it then. When I had a look, was all happy. Now, the other thing that I was looking at the dealers was the financial side of it, and I got a reasonable deposit. I was asking for like 1,000. I was going to put 1,500, and then you could have the rest, even on second-hand bikes now. I don't know what the second-hand car dealers are like, but with the bikes, at least with Honda anyway, you can have PCP. And I thought, it's not a bad way to go. The repayments are reasonable, you know, around £105-ish a mark. And then at the end of that, you can settle the balance or give the bike back or chop it in for something else. But there are stipulations. Obviously there's like a mileage stipulation and all sorts of other things. So that was the route I was going to go. And the APR with those PCPs are around the 10% mark. So that's how I was looking. Well, anyway, as I said, I'd seen this bike in the one we've seen in Auto Trader, and I thought, yeah, okay. Popped into my bank and just said, look, I've seen this bike. You know, I've got some deposit money for it. I'll be looking at a loan about £6 grand. What sort of deals have you got? And I said, well, first of all, I said, I'm sure I've been pre-approved for, that was my actual question. So I'm sure I've been pre-approved for an amount up to 20 grand or something. And she actually went, no, it's about 35,000. Oh, okay. Not that I want that, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so we've been pre-approved up to that sort of money. I was like, okay, so theoretically, how quick would the money be in my account? Just said, well, if your criteria is fine, straight away. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, right, well, okay, well, APR and repayments. And she looked at the deals, and 4.9% APR on a £6 grand loan over 5 years, £112 a month. And I'm like, hang on, that APR is a lot better than the PCPs, and the payments aren't much different to what the PCP was offering. And the good thing is, at the end of that period, well, two good things actually, but one is at the end of your payments, you know, it's yours, you've not got no lump sum. And also, if I want to pay off more, I can do so. Same as what I did with my Triumph. Whenever I had extra money, I'd put it towards my loan and get it cleared early. So yeah, that all sounded good. And I was out in Tesco's on a Friday night getting a sandwich before I went to Putney, and I was literally walking around Tesco's doing it on my app, and it went bum bum bum. I went, yeah, that's okay, good, and he went, fine. £6 grand was like there and then. I'm like, wow, it's just literally paid it in at that moment. So anyway, done the deal on Saturday. Getting the money in was a lot easier than getting the money out. That's all I can say. Fair play to Barclays. They've got a really tight security fraud department, and it took about half hour of the Spanish Inquisition to get the money released. But annoying as it is, I'm grateful they're there, because you know, there's so much going on now. So yeah, that was done. That was Saturday. Got the bike Saturday. Yeah, and it's all good to go now, and I really like it. You know, it's like having the same as when I bought the Thunderbird. It's that same feeling. I know, you know, I'm just gonna be happy with it for as long as I can ride, really. The Triumph's not going anywhere. That's the first thing I said. It's still here 9 years later, still feels like it's a new bike to me, and I know the Africa Twin's going to be the same. So that just leaves space for a sports bike, but that's another story, or it will be. The CBR6 was never meant to be I never meant to buy the CBR6 because it was a sports bike. I bought the CBR6 because it was cheap and cheerful, and that more than gave you your money's worth. So yeah, it's now gone to another guy. I do actually know them, so it's not like I won't see the bike again, but to me it's done its time with me. You know, I've got my money's worth. It's got me about for the last 4 years nearly. It's, you know, it's pasture's new for the CBR. So yeah, there's the bikes in a nutshell. I might talk a bit more candidly about my transport history, shall we say, because it's massive, both bikes and cars. But yeah, there we go. Now, content wise, this week we are back at Ramsgate Tunnels for the second of actually 3 parts. And as I think I pointed out previous weeks, I've sort of split it up because of the Patricia Parsons content and also the Rettendon as well, because I've got another Billy Jasper bit coming up as well in the next few weeks. So yeah, it's all got split up between them. And I'm just at the moment finishing off the Canvey, the B17 as well, and that produced some interesting results, I can tell you that. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the weather. Don't forget, keep yourselves hydrated. Stay in the shade. Don't go out unnecessarily. Well, that's what the government tells us anyway. Otherwise, go down the beach and have some fun. Have an ice cream. See you again. Take care. Bye-bye.